I like that breeze.
Welcome in, Commanders families, Command Center Game Day Live. We are here for week one, start of a new era, yes. The Jaden Daniels era. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Hot!
I shouldn't have to tell you.
It is hot, but I'm excited. You know what? We've been waiting for this moment. We get a chance to go now. And I mean, listen, it's Florida.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hot at this time of the year. We're going to find out how much people have put into it. And I think Jaden's ready to go. I expect him to have a good day.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. You know, we can sit here and talk all day about it, but I really want to see what we got in store with this team, you know?
Yes, sir. So, you know, this is a little different. The show's not as long as it normally is. However, we are still out here in this heat, giving y'all everything we got. And we have a few technical difficulties, so stick with us. But right now, it's time to Give Me 5, presented by UA Local 5 Plumbers, protecting the health of the nation's capital since 1890. Now, fellas, for this Give Me 5, I'm going to give y'all headlines, and I want y'all to talk about it, okay? And that first headline, Jaden Daniels' debut and his debut within this Cliff Kingsbury offense. How y'all feeling it's going to look today?
Well, you know, one of the things, I think the biggest question about, you know, Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury offense is how would Cliff utilize him? You know what I mean? Knowing that he's a dual threat, will we see a heavy package of runs in there for the quarterback? You know, we already know he has a huge arm, but one of the things that everybody wants to know is, you know, all we know of Cliff Kingsbury's offense is what we saw in Arizona with Kyler Murray. And when you look at the skill sets, they both similar. But Jaden can sit in that pocket because he has the height, he has the arm ability. So that's one of the biggest questions for me.
And Beavis, it's not just Jaden's debut. Yeah. It's also head coach Dan Quinn's debut. What do you expect to see from head coach Dan Quinn? How important is that first game for a head coach?
Well, I just say, Dan, since I've talked to him since he was hired, he's a guy who seems to be under control. Yeah. But he has that quiet way of getting his team motivated. So I'm expecting the same things I've been seeing from him. From the moment he was a D coordinator to getting to one thing I want to say, that people keep talking about, oh, they went to the Super Bowl, they lost Super Bowl. They were in the Super Bowl, which means the man knows how to coach. Yeah. And then once you get there, then whatever happens, happens. But the ultimate thing, I want to see how he's going to influence his guys and see the overall maturation of him. Getting his second stint now here with the Commanders now, and then also on top of it, allowing his offensive coordinators to go do some great things.
And Tanner, we're also looking at Joe Witt Jr.'s debut as a defensive coordinator. This is one of the guys that we have just loved since the moment we've met him, and he talks like a head coach. What do you expect to see from this new look defense in Joe Witt Jr.?
Well, you know, he said he wanted to see his guys fly around, play physical with speed, and he wants turnovers. You know, that's what he said. Ball is life. So I'm expecting that, you know, and we've been talking about this for some years now, just seeing our defense play at that caliber. I think last year what pissed me off, just seeing the guys with the ability but wasn't seeing the production. You understand? So now we fast forward to today. We have the coaching staff here. Let's see if these guys can stand up and do what we asked them to, or do what he asked them to do, what we've been looking for.
And we hope who don't stand up today. It's Baker Mayfield. We got to get after the quarterback. We have two defensive ends that are new now. Looks very different on that defensive line. How do we get Baker Mayfield on the ground?
Well, I think it's not going to start with the two outside guys. It starts with our two inside guys. Guys that I believe a lot in, and I'm expecting a lot from. In Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, I believe those two guys can set the tone. Because if they get up the middle and put that pressure in Baker's not that tall. Okay? He's not that big of a guy. If they can push that pocket back and get in his face, it's going to give us a better opportunity out there. Because he holds on to it, now those ends come around and get a chance to get to him.
And Tanner Beeman said it, set the tone. And I think that's the last headline right here. That's what we need to do today. This is week one. It's the start of a new era. How do we set the tone today here in Tampa?
I think the way you set the tone, man, is make every play count. I think offensively, man, you know, when we're on the field, make every play count. Try to make sure you're moving those chains. Get yourself in enough range where we can at least get 3 out of it. You know what I mean? Defensively, you know what they say. They want the ball. They want the ball back. So finding ways to get that ball back, get after, you know, Baker Mayfield, corral him enough to where he's second guessing himself. And you know when he's done that, now he can't see where he's throwing to. He's going to throw it up to you. So there's plenty of ways to set the tone, but that's what I'm looking forward to.
And guys, now it's time to get into our most rewarding odds presented by Fanatic Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of the Washington Commanders. Please play responsibly. You can call 1-800-GAMBLER if you need to. Now, here's the details for our Week 1 matchup. You are seeing Washington is underdogs with 4 points. They're also at a plus 165 and an over-under of 42.5. Now, we have plenty more for you. Now, let's get into our money matchup, brought to you by Northwest Federal Credit Union, where trust matters. Last season, the Buccaneers, led by quarterback Baker Mayfield, were last in rushing, 17th in passing, and 23rd in total yards. And then their defense, they were nasty against the run, ranking 5th. Then last in the league, close to last in the league at 29th in passing, and then 23 in total yards. Fellas, y'all seen the numbers here.
Yeah.
What a first week matchup for Jaden Daniels, man.
Yeah.
We talked about this a lot. This team isn't no slouch.
Yeah, they're no slouch at all. And I think, Ty Bowles is the guy who's going to be blitzing coming out of the locker room. And Jaden Daniels has been a guy who's shown how intelligent he is. He understands his offense. He understands the things that are going to be happening. And I think the thing about I love most about him, he gets the ball out of his hands. But the way that we're going to be able to utilize that, run the ball on him some. Yeah, they're very good against the run, but you got to get Vita Vea moving. You can't run straight at him. If you just go at him, that big guy's not going to move. They say he's down to a slim 320, 330. I don't know how slim he can be at 320, 330, but he lost about 30, 40 pounds. Yeah. So he may be able to move a little quicker. Let's see if he's going to want to move quick all day.
And Taylor, last night on the Saturday Night Live special, you had mentioned it. There's talent at all levels. You got Levante David, you got Winfield. What other problems does this defense pose, especially in that secondary?
I think more so is just knowing that they're going to try to stop the run. You know what I mean? I think more than anything, you can look at every level and say, yeah, there's talent there. And then one of the things you want to know is say, okay, this defense also presents a cover 2 package where they have been the best of all teams that run this package. But they're trying to stop the run. And when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels, even though that one presents a challenge to us, we also present a challenge because they don't know what that quarterback's going to do. They don't know when he's going to pull it and be lethal with his legs. So I think, when you look at this thing, you might say, okay, this Bucs defense offensively, both of their, their different phases of the game has been together for a long time. We haven't. But guess what? They don't know what we're going to bring. They haven't really seen us together come out here and play. So with that being in mind, I'm looking forward to these guys to be surprised very often because they don't know what we're going to bring.
And to Tanner's point, I don't think we'll be surprised at all if we see Jaden Daniels using those legs, running a lot. Now, last night you were asked the question how much you want to see Jaden Daniels run. B-Mitch, reiterate that and tell us why it's so important for him to use that weapon.
Well, it's important for him to be able to run the ball because now that makes that defense have to play a little bit more safe. Yeah. They can't line up and just start going ball to the wall because ultimately if you allow him to break it, he has the ability to take it the distance. But the thing about it is, when Jaden is going to be pulling the ball out, that makes everybody basically play man-to-man. And if he can do that, he gives us an advantage as an offense. Now, you begin to play a little bit tighter. Then you can throw it over the top. And you know he's capable of doing that as well.
And fellas, we got to talk defense. So now it's time to get into the best seat of the house. Presented by SeatGeek, the official primary teaming partner of the Washington Commanders. Now, we talked about going against their secondary, but our secondary is up for a true test. It looks a little different now, but it looks the same for Tampa Bay. They got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, 2 guys that got over 1,000 yards last year. Tanner, how can we find success slowing these guys down? Because you can't take them out the game, but you can try to slow them down.
I think it starts up front. With our big guys in the middle. Like we talked about with Baker Mayfield, one of the things that he doesn't have going for him is he's a shorter quarterback. So he wants to get outside that pocket at times. If we could corral him in that pocket and make sure that he has not a clear lane, to see out of up front. Now he's trying to escape and our ends get out of him. Now we have a better chance on the outside. But I believe that we have to be aggressive with these guys outside, at our cornerback position. St. Juice, I want to see him use his arms. I want to see him put his hands on somebody. I think he has the ability to do so. Forbes, I want to see him with a little help and let him be that guy that play that D-Hall position and jump some of those passes. He has the ability to do that. He's a ball hawk if you put him in the right kind of package. So I think with that being in mind, and also our guys on the second level, we have better linebacker play now this year. You have a guy like Lugu. You have a guy like Bobby. Those guys ain't just lead the league in tackles last year. They also good at playing some of those guys that's going to be in the inside. So we have a lot going for ourselves. So hopefully that slows those guys down.
And it's nice to have a secondary that got length, right? Mike Davis, Emmanuel Forbes. All these guys are above 6 foot, what helps. Now, we talked about the rushing game and how they weren't really great rushing the ball, but I think that's because you look at a team like Tampa Bay, they don't have a dual backfield, right? Yeah. They have one back that gets it all, right? He almost had 1,000 yards, so he is very productive and also can catch the ball. How do we slow down a Rashad White who is so prolific in not only the run game but also the passing game?
Well, you have to hit him early and not let him get started. And you have to be short tackles. Yeah. And Tanner just mentioned the linebackers, the new linebackers we have. That is key. Because today, when we look at last year, we look at some of the big plays, wasn't the fact that we weren't there, we just didn't bring the guy down. And I think if short tackling is going to be he can go out there and break all types of tackles. You take him to the ground on the first tackle, and then you give yourself a better chance. We can't have guys with those yards after contact. And I think with a guy like a Bobby Wagner and Lugu on the field, you won't see that.
And Tanner, you said this during the Saturday Night Special. You said the way that we get pressure is through the middle with those big defensive tackles and Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. What do you expect to see from them today, and how important is it for them to set the tone for this whole defense being the elder statesman?
Well, one of the things you have to understand, too, is Tampa has a pretty good offensive line. So it's not going to be an easy task, but I think it's going to be a collective force. These guys got to go out there as a group and as a unit. You know, one of the things that Joe Wick Jr. told us, man, it's going to be a lot of different packages. So with the temperature feeling like it feels right now for us, you can just imagine how it feels for them to be in them pads. I'm expecting to see him rotate guys out there to keep those guys fresh. To keep those guys fresh, and he presents different looks to those guys. Now they have a chance to be effective, and that's what we're going to have to do.
And fellas, now let's take a look at our never ordinary performers. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Now, B. Mitch, you chose Jonathan Allen as your never ordinary performer. Expound on that.
Well, I chose Jonathan because John has the ability to take over a game. And I've seen him, you saw him like a couple years ago when he was the dominant force. And I really believe that the big guys, like in football today, we always talk about the little guys, the skill positions. But the people that really make it go and not go are going to be the guys in the trenches. And Jonathan Allen, he can get out there and crash that pocket, like I said, in the middle, put pressure on Baker Mayfield. Be the guy to make the running back have to stop his feet and start to chop a little bit. If he does that consistently today, that's going to give the linebackers a chance, hit gaps, make all the tackles, and then it makes Baker become a one-dimensional guy. Now, I think we have a great chance of beating him.
And Tanner, your never ordinary performer is somebody I cannot stop talking enough about. Brian Robinson Jr., man. What do you expect to see from him? Because we talked about it a lot. He was so underutilized last year. I feel like it's going to be different this season.
Well, I think first I'm expecting them to see him get more than 5 carries going into half. You know, we saw a lot of that last year. And just knowing that now you have a guy like Jaden Daniels in the backfield with him, that makes the defense not know at times when he's going to be getting the ball or when Jaden is going to be keeping it. So I do think that we're going to need to have a steady run game, though. I think this defense is going to present a challenge to us in both phases, running and passing the ball. So if we can get him going early, it'll slow things down and make things a little easier for Jaden.
And one of my guys that I think needs to be never ordinary is Mike Sanderstill. Now, when you look at this rookie, he does not act like a rookie. He acts like he has been here before. He's one of our smaller guys, one of our newer guys, but also might be our best defensive back. On the outside, from the slot, what do you expect to see from Mike Sanderstill? How important is it for him to have a big game against all of these great weapons?
Well, because you know what, you look at that offense over there at Tampa, and you look at those receivers, and they're bigger, they have experience. You know, Mike Evans has 10 1,000-yard seasons. But when you look at Mike Sanderstill, you might say, oh, he's at a disadvantage. But he's smart. The guy understands leverage. He understands the game. And he's going to be knowing every move they're trying to make. The thing I love so much about him, young guys normally come in and they have to feel their way. He leads the way because he knows football. When you hear a guy like Nick Saban say he was the best football player in the draft, pound for pound, that means this kid can play. And I think we watch him now, we're going to see, he's a rookie. He may have some rookie mistakes, but we're going to also see the maturity that he has, the football IQ that he has, and that's going to put him a little bit ahead of an average rookie.
A true test today, especially going up against a quarterback like Baker Mayfield at career highs all last season, over 4,000 yards. Tanner, a quarterback like Baker Mayfield, we always talk about these different style of quarterback play. What threats does he pose with his style of play, Baker Mayfield?
Well, he's just a guy that can escape, and he's one of those guys that you think about Baker Mayfield, you see all the stuff that he's been through, and he's still here, still standing. He was a walk-on in college, and he got to the point to where he's one of the highly sought-out quarterbacks coming into the draft, and then now he has his ups and downs. He's with a new team, and he's finally found his way. He's going to be a threat regardless because he's one of those guys. He plays his best with his back up against the wall. So it's nothing that we're going to present today is going to be different for this guy. We have to go out there and make sure we get the job done because until that clock 6-0, he's going to still be out there trying to will and deal. And he's just one of those guys. I like Baker Mayfield. I've been saying it from day one that he's one of the guys that I like in this league, but I don't like him today. I want our guys to go out there and do that thing against him.
I don't like him today either. Now let's take a look at our most exciting players presented by Nissan. At Nissan, we make cars that thrill. Experience the thrill for yourself today. Shop NissanUSA.com. Now, B. Mitch, your guy, surprise, was Jaden Daniels.
Well, we've heard all the talk, and we see the excitement. And I can understand why people are so excited. Since he stepped into this guy's worked harder than anybody out there. He's first in the building and the last to leave the building. On the football field, he doesn't have that mindset of being just, I'm a guy what is about me. He's a team player. But you know what? Now we want to see this stuff all come together on this football field. Getting the ball out of his hands fast, having an unbelievable ability of running the ball and also throwing the big ball. That stuff is exciting. And in this league today, if you have a very good quarterback, you can go a long way.
Yeah.
And this is the day Jaden begins to show why he was drafted number 2.
And Tanner, somebody we cannot talk enough about, man. I've interviewed him like 7 times because he's such an exciting guy. Frankie Louisville. That boy be running around. What do you expect to see from Frankie Louisville today?
Well, I'm excited, man. I think one of the things that we have to, that I don't think we fail to realize, but some of our fans might not understand is, as much as we talked about Bobby Wagner being one of the best linebackers, we got another one in Louisville. And Louisville flew around, had 100+ tackles last year, had 5.5, I believe, sacks. He can get turnovers in the air with, picking off passes. Yeah. He's just a dynamic linebacker, can play any position. You can have him as a rusher. You can have him as a guy back there covering. I like the way he plays the game with his tenacity and his approach. From the day I saw him on the practice field with us, I knew he was going to be trouble. Now we get to see him in the live bullets being thrown at him, and I can't wait to see it.
And fellas, we are just moments away from the start of the JD5 era, the Jaden Daniels era, the Coach Quinn era, the Adam Peters era. But first, it's time for Play Fast, Win Fast, brought to you by Maryland Lottery. Robbery, please play responsibly. Now, fellas, we're here. Can't believe it. We're here with Sweaty Man. Give us your final thoughts on this matchup. I know you guys are both excited.
Well, I think everybody look at this team, and you look at Tampa, they are the much more mature team. They've been together a long time. But nobody ever said that a young team can't come in and kick the door down and say, you know what, hey, we're not going to wait. I think one thing about it, people normally would say that you're just young and dumb enough to where you don't know. Well, you know what, it's time for this team to come out there and show them that. We're young, we're not dumb. We're going to let you know that we can play football too. And this is a young man's game, so let's show them.
Well, day one is finally here, the first game of the season. And I think one of the things that we've all been asking these questions is what are we going to get from this team? We will find out in a couple of minutes. And all I'm asking for, man, to play competitive football. They play competitive football before the game is over with, they give themselves a chance to win this game. Yeah. I don't have a bunch of aspirations saying this team's going to go this and that this year. I just want to see the competitive edge from the team, which I've already saw in the preseason and through some of these practices. If they take that approach, they have a great chance of coming out victorious today.
And B, Mr. Tanner's point, what does success look like for the Commanders? New coach, new ownership, new quarterback, a bunch of new look faces. What does success look like for this team?
Success looks like a team that's going to go on the field and seem that they look like they're confident. It's going to be a team that goes out in this town and say, compete at a high level. And then you have a quarterback who, if he's our future, you're going to have him gradually getting better. And I think also on top of it, we don't have to worry about the stuff off the field anymore. It's all about on the field. And that's the ultimate thing. Success for me is not a record this year. The record is going to come in the next year or two. But success this year is to show drastic improvement from last year.
And Tanner, real quick, before we go, look around you right now. There's nothing but burgundy and gold in here. Yeah. This is different than what we were on last year. Yeah. Set the tone right now and tell us why the energy is so different before we end the show.
Well, the energy is going to be different because they've seen it. They've seen it all preseason long. They've heard it. They've been around it in some of those practices, man. Now it's time for these guys on the field to show up. I can't wait. I know they can't either.
Oh, man, I cannot wait. Commanders family, the time is finally here. The start of a new era for the Commanders. We are all excited. Now, we will be back for post-game live, giving you post-game analysis as well as coach interviews and player interviews. So make sure you stay tuned to the Commanders YouTube, Facebook, and X. Until then, we out. We're going to go get us some AC.